Come back at 8:50. Next week will be a huge week for New Jerseyans as officials plans to reopen malls, amusement parks, casinos, and much more. So here with an update on what exactly is happening in the Garden State is Governor Phil Murphy. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us and taking the time this morning.
Good to be with you, Dan. Thanks for having me.
You know, Governor, you're expecting to announce some guidelines for public school reopenings today. This is the million-dollar question that parents have. Is there anything we can make in terms of headlines right now, what you can share for parents out there who are watching right now?
Yeah, I won't make any news because we want to do that as we gather with the Commissioner of the Department of Education and a very outstanding superintendent, which we'll do at 1 o'clock today. But I think folks should know that we want to get back to school. New Jersey probably did the virtual learning as well as any state in America. We have the #1 public school system in America, but it wasn't perfect. There's nothing like being back to school. But it's going to be in a new normal, and folks should expect that. And I think we'll have a spirit of getting through this together. And I'm confident we'll be back in school when we open up again in late August.
And I respect you wanting to save some of that news for later on. I am going to press you a little bit just because my father is an educator for Bergen County Special Services. He works in Emerson. I wouldn't do right by him if I didn't ask you. You know, will there be students fully in a classroom, or do you plan on staggering some in a classroom, some at home?
Yeah, first of all, God bless your dad and all the educators. And again, we'll get into this in more detail, but I will say this, the toughest nut to crack with this virus, this is not just specific to school, but it does apply to educators, administrators, others, is the unwitting passing of the virus from an asymptomatic, healthy, younger person to an older person or someone with comorbidities. That's been the hardest piece of this. That's what happened in our long-term care facilities between either staff or loved ones on the one hand and residents on the other. That's what we've got to guard against when we open back up in school.
For remote learning, would you say it was a success looking back?
I'd say for the most part, but we have too many kids in our family who, in our state rather, whose only hot meal of the day or best meal of the day is through the school system, and getting that right was a challenge. Or kids who don't have access to a device of some sort, or internet access generally, and that has been a challenge. And we got to make sure that, you know, we are the #1 school system in America, but that's got to be for everybody, not just for most of our kids. And those have been challenges for us. I think we dealt with them as well as we could. But there's nothing like being back in school together.
Understood. Okay, so next week's certainly going to be a big week of reopenings as well in New Jersey, right? Malls on Monday. So how exactly will malls look in this post-coronavirus world?
Yeah, malls on Monday, and then we'll get to indoor dining and casinos later in the week, among other steps, museums, libraries. There are going to be certain elements that are going to be consistent, even though the guidance in some cases will be specific to that, particular venue. But you're going to see big emphasis on limiting capacity, on social distancing, on wearing face coverings indoors, and a whole lot of disinfectant dispensers and hyper hygiene.
Let me ask you about this face mask. I saw your tweet last night that said wear a mask, right? I actually retweeted it. I support that, and I think people let loose, though, with this idea of, okay, when do I wear the mask? If I'm going inside to eat, obviously I can't wear it, right? But so you're saying when you walk around a mall, when is the time to wear the mask versus not wearing the mask? It may sound like a silly question.
Yeah, Dan, no, it's not silly at all. I would encourage folks to wear them when you're outside, but I would honestly say the virus is a lot less lethal outside than it is inside. If you're inside, you should be wearing a mask. Now, listen, you go to have dinner at a restaurant, you sit at your table, obviously you've got to make concessions for the fact you're eating or drinking. But for the most part, if you're walking around into a restaurant, in a mall, in a casino, you got to wear a face covering, period.
Governor, you along with other governors of New York and Connecticut have also put together some travel rules for people coming to the tri-state area from hotspots, right? So you're suggesting this quarantine. New York saying they'll issue some fines. You're not going that far over in New Jersey. But how would you monitor this? How do you keep track of those who are coming back from these states that are now seeing an uptick in cases?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be yet another ask of our extraordinary residents. In New Jersey's residents have done an extraordinary job in this pandemic, whether it's staying at home, face coverings, as we discussed, social distancing, washing hands with soap and water. This is another ask. Personal responsibility. If you know you've been in a hot spot where there's a high positivity rate or a high number of new cases, do the right thing. Stay home, stay away from others, and by the way, get tested. We've built capacity in New Jersey for testing, unlike any state in America. Let's use it. Get tested and stay away from folks, and that's what we want folks to do. Overwhelmingly, New Jerseyans have done the right thing, and I'm confident they'll continue to do that.
And that's a big ask, though, in terms of trust for those folks to actually self-quarantine. You won't go as far as what Governor Cuomo was saying in issuing fines?
Listen, the Department of Health and the Health Commissioner does have the right to, not as a blanket matter, but in specific non-compliant individuals to take action. So we do reserve that right. We'd like to think, and I'm confident we can get there, and that is just an extension of the responsible, overwhelmingly compliant behavior that we've had so far.
Governor, the president will actually be visiting New Jersey to play golf as he has in the past. You have met with him there in the past. Any plans to meet with the president again? And what is your message to him where he seems to be talking about an idea of slowing down testing and where we should be increasing testing?
No plans to meet with the president. We met him on his last trip up here, and obviously, the president of the United States, if there's an opportunity to meet, we obviously will take that with honor. As it relates to testing, we believe in New Jersey that the more data you have, the better you're able to fight this virus. So we've built up a capacity in testing unlike any American state. We're now doing the same thing with contact tracing. We've got a separate plan for isolation. We believe it's not a question of if this virus will come back. Even if we do everything right, we believe it will come back. The bigger question is, what are you going to do when it comes back? Can you test? Do you have enough testing capacity to spot it and then surround it with contact tracing and isolate it? And that's our approach, and we'll continue to be we'll continue to invest heavily in that.
And so when you say it'll actually come back, I think that's when people get this idea of, did we open up too soon if it is going to be coming back?
Listen, there's a chorus of folks who think we're too slow. There's a chorus who think we're going too fast. We believe we make the decisions based on the data. We do it methodically. We do it incrementally so we can better assess the impact of a given step, and we'll continue to do it that way.
Governor Murphy, I appreciate your time this morning. I like this idea of returning to school, of what you're saying, or at least in person. I'm going to go ahead and say that sounds like what you're saying, that you want people to be in the classroom. I know we have to wait till later. I'm not a patient person.
No, Dan, we do, and give your dad a high five for us.
And real quick, before I let you go, I know you usually like to go abroad for your summer vacations. The Jersey Shore is a favorite of mine. I am learning much about LBI since my parents are now have a house down there. So any plans for the summer vacations along the Jersey Shore? Oh,
yeah. I mean, listen, we spend most of the summer on the shore. In fact, I live on the northern part of the shore itself, but we go to Island Beach State Park, which has been ranked as the #1 state park in America. But there are gems up and down our 140-something miles of shore. And by the way, the counties and the mayors up and down the shore, from up here in Monmouth, where I am, through Ocean, Atlantic, Cape May counties, all the communities have managed this crisis brilliantly. The way they're dealing with their beaches, we've got a gem unlike any other state in America.
Governor, when we can see each other in person, let's have a funnel cake eat-off.
I love that.
There we go. Governor Murphy, appreciate your time this morning, as always, and welcome back here at Pix 11 anytime.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.